It was the 1980s. For guys like me, things were already awesome. We had MTV, The Goonies, Karate Kid, and Back to the Future. Some of us wore parachute pants and some of us wore Bugle Boys. We jammed to Prince, Men at Work, Cyndi Lauper, and Madonna. The world was covered in neon and people spoke in synthesized beats. Nah, I'm just kidding about that last part, but it really was a rad time. And for those of us coming of age in those days, there was no place more rad than our old neighborhoods as we cruised around on our bikes with the best friends we'll ever have. We raced, jumped, and crashed around like Evel Knievel, and the world was ours for the taking. But then, almost out of nowhere, this guy comes along.
Okay, dudes, let's walk this sucker. All right.
And everything changed. He was one of us. A paper boy who thought he was a pro. With the raw determination and talent to prove he was, he inspired us into believing that we were pros too. And over 35 years later, that legacy still stands. I'm Rick Haney. I'm a 48-year-old dad with 2 kids. We watch RAD on a regular basis, and it's no surprise to me that thousands of other dads still have their VHS copy of the film, not only introducing their kids to the awesome sport of BMX, but teaching them that they too can be champions, no matter the odds. Join me and my radical co-host Brandon Shaw as we talk about BMX past and present, stories about the legacy of RAD, and how guys just like us all over the world are getting back on their bikes after 3 decades. We'll talk with the professional riders, athletes, and actors who helped make the film so memorable. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real 33. I'm Rick Haney, joined by the awesome dude, Brandon Shaw.
Hey, Rick, man, I'm excited about the episode tonight.
Oh, this has been a long time coming, man. I don't even want to keep talking. I just want to bring him on.
Yeah, let's bring on the legendary, the one, the only Hollywood Mike Miranda. There he is.
Hey,
Look
Mike.
at that.
Oh, he hasn't aged a day. He hasn't aged a day, folks.
See that? That's my first dramatic exit right there.
Oh, which means there will be more than one.
You never know with me. You never know. Hey, fellas, how you doing?
We're doing great, man. We're excited to have you on, buddy.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, so let's get started, man. Let's start with, first of all, let's talk about Mike Miranda, how he got into bicycles. Kind of keep it brief, but let's start where how you end up getting a rolling around, like to be on like a factory team, I guess. So,
well, sure. Like most guys like me, I wanted to be a motocross star, but my parents couldn't afford a motorcycle, so I put motorcycle handlebars on my BMX, and that was the beginning of it all. And then, so I started racing BMX in my local track, and then went on to make it as a factory pro, and just had a great career all over the world promoting BMX and earning some money for my folks.
Awesome. Okay, so the year is what, I guess 1985, and suddenly there's a movie coming out. Let's talk about how you got chosen, how you got picked, how did it happen? Sure,
I'll tell you what I know is in 1985 I was riding as the factory pro for Hutch. And I got a call from the magazine asking me if I wanted to be in this movie. So I called Hutch, my sponsor, and said, "Hey, Hutch, I want to be in this movie." And Hutch said to me, "Well, you're scheduled to go to South Africa to promote BMX for this, for me." And I said, "South Africa? But Hutch, I could be famous and be in a movie." And Hutch said to me, "Why would you want to? No one will remember that thing in a year. It'll all be done, and I could sell more bikes." And here we are, 30-something years later, and we're talking about RAD.
We are indeed. So after it hit the movie theaters, was he well pleased? Especially if you were one of the more iconic riders in the movie, for sure.
Yeah, but I had to work hard to get to be a more iconic in the movie, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. Yeah, he was pleased. I think everyone was pleased about the movie except my dad.
Why's that?
Because like a lot of folks, I guess, I think I bought 40 tickets to the movie theater the day it came out, and I brought all my friends and all my family, anyone I could wrangle in there to go with me, and we all went to our local theater to watch it. and it was all fun and games, and people were cheering when I came on. And when I walked out, my dad said, "Mijo, you crashed a lot." He didn't
Yeah.
understand. He didn't understand because he saw me training all the time. He didn't have any ideas that I was crashing on purpose. So I had to explain it to him that, hey, Dad, that's how I made more money. And he was like, oh, okay.
What was your
Go
age?
ahead.
Wow. I don't know. See, 80, 23.
You're 23 years old.
Yes, sir.
All right. And at 23, you're about to, I mean, look, at the time you were a double A pro, I guess.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it.
I was a double A pro. Had won a few big titles and a few big races, and was just set to be a pro BMXer. Had no idea that this opportunity was ever going to happen, and had no idea. Again, 33 years later, here we are still talking about it.
And where did the Hollywood come from? Because here you are now doing a Hollywood movie, and you're Hollywood Mike Miranda.
Well, I'll tell you the short version. It's because I like to show off. That's how I got the name. And all the things I did since I got the name has kept it what it is. I do. I jump a lot. I show off. I seem to be a bit more extravagant than most, and I'm the life of the party. So that's how I keep staying Hollywood.
Now, is that part of the persona with the mustache, or is that part of it? Or did you
Oh
do
no. Oh no. That thing just popped up when I was 12 years old and I never shaved it.
Never
Really?
left.
You've
Yeah.
always had a mustache.
Yeah, I was probably 12 years old when it started, and by the time I was 14, it was a caterpillar. I looked
Yeah.
like Magnum PI when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
That was the look, though. That was the look
That
back
was
then.
Hey,
Yeah.
that worked for the girls and their moms.
Oh, that's so legendary.
Oh,
One
dude, let me tell you. You rock that mustache and I rock Z, you're doing all right.
It's going to be a good night. So,
Take
so
the T-tops and cruise around.
Oh.
Heck yeah.
That's amazing. Obviously, you played yourself in the movie. I mean, you weren't really acting, but you kind of became your own character by falling down. You were like the fall guy of the movie, and that's kind of where you're cemented. How did that come into play? And did you volunteer that, or were you directed specifically by Hal or anybody else?
I'll tell you, Rick, that is a great story. And here's what happened. When I heard that Jose Yanez was making $1,500 for every single jump he did, whether it was it was cut or it was whatever it was, every time, and I thought to myself, oh, I got to get me some of that scratch. So the first day we were filming was one of the straightaways and the turn, and I walked up to Hal Needham out of nowhere. I didn't go to the stunt director. I didn't talk to Eddie Fiola. I went straight to Hal Needham. And I said, excuse me, Mr. Needham. And he looked out of his chair and he had no idea who I was. I said, Mr. Needham, what would be really awesome is if somebody went riding up and flew over the turn, because that happens in the real races. And again, I didn't approve this by anybody. I just went straight to the source, straight to the guy who was writing the checks. And he goes, yeah, that would be good. And I said, well, I'll do that for $500. And he looked at me and he goes, all right, go ahead. So he had the guys. I thought they were going to set up kind of an airbag or something. They didn't put anything back there but a row of cardboard boxes. And so
Oh, wow.
I was jammed straight at it. I wasn't a stunt man. I didn't know what I was doing. I just pedaled straight at that thing, went right up and over, and yanked my bike over.
That's it.
Oh, there we
That's
go.
it.
Right there.
There he goes.
That's it right there. Thank you, Kevin Hall, for giving this to me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. So
That's
And so I went
mean,
right over, right
Yeah.
into the cardboard boxes and mashed up, and and that was it. And it was just a one-shot wonder. And I thought, oh, it was fun. And then, a week and a half or so later, when we were doing the cliffhanger,
Mhm.
I went up to Mr. Needham and I said, "Hey, Mr. Needham." Now, by this time, he knew who I was, there'll be a couple more stories about that. He knew who I was, and he looked down out of his chair, semi-disgusted, and he said, "What do you want, Hollywood?" And I said, what would be kind of cool is if someone didn't make it all the way up and and crashed all the way down. And he looked at me and he laughed and he said, "Well, how much is that going to cost me?" And I gave him enough. I said $1,500, and he goes, "All right, go get set up." And so
So you got a pay
that's how
raise.
I was earning my keep, and so they did. And once again, I'm thinking, oh, that's like 3 stories, 4 stories high. They'll have some, they'll put up the airbag and all that. Dang it, if they just put more cardboard boxes.
That was a
But I
much bigger
knew,
drop too, right?
man, it was far. And you know what? I thought to myself, okay, yeah, it's $1,500 every take. So I went up that thing and flew down and landed square on my back. And I'm not, if I didn't say it before, I'm not a stunt man. So like a ding dong, I held my breath. And when I hit those boxes, poosh, knocked the
Yeah.
wind out of me. But I scrambled out of those boxes and people were applauding. And I went straight up to meet Mr. Needham and I said, how about another take? And he said, no, I think we got it, Hollywood.
I
And
my
that was the beginning of my stunt career, if you will.
Awesome.
that
So
that is
what was
incredible.
your bonus cash total then?
Oh, let's see. Let's see. I collected some cans. I stole some memorabilia. It was I got I made an extra $2,000, but I don't know. I don't remember what the per diem was and the extra money we got just for being there.
Okay.
But it
And
was
So what
it
was
was a blast.
How long
I'm
were you
sure.
there?
How
How
long
long
was
were you
I
filming?
there?
Yeah. How long were you there?
Oh, I think 2.5 weeks, and then I had to leave. I had to leave for a race.
Let me ask you this, Mike. So you're well on your way as an established rider, and Hollywood comes calling. What was it like to see those fields kind of? When you look back on it now, are you seeing 2 different pictures? Or is it all just
It's
blended
all part of
together?
it. It's all part of
Yeah.
the circus of my life. Yeah, it's all part of the
Yeah.
circus of my life. At the time, it was a pleasant vacation. Well, it
Oh,
was a
okay.
vacation because I did a little training while I was there. I did a little training while I was there, but it was either 2.5, 2 weekends I didn't go to race, so it was a little time off. It was good. It was fun. And plus, hanging around with the fellas is always a good time. I'm always
Right.
trying to entertain myself, which entertains them. So it worked out great.
That's great. Who was the most entertaining on set, other than you, of course?
Other than me, wow. Mr. Needham yelling at me. That was probably it.
Did he have a short fuse?
I don't know, but I was walking around him with a Roman candle trying to light that fuse off. I was goofing around all the time, and it was it was a little bit disruptive. Can I tell you about the most disruptive thing I did?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh! Every day, the scenes where HB Haggerty would ride on that big motorcycle. It was cool. But then they had a second one where the actual police officer, because there was a police officer on set, and he did the actual riding through the lumberyard and whatnot. So there were 2 of them, and one of them sat there all the time with the keys in it. Well, boys, let me tell you this: shooting a movie is the most boring thing you'll ever do. We never rode a whole lap. We would just ride one straightaway and one turn, and they'd go cut, and then they move all the cameras to zero. And when they do all that, it's a couple of hours.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you got HDD in if you have ADD in HD like I do, man, that's just trouble. So I kept staring at that motorcycle with the key sitting in it. And man, one time they said, "Cut, we're moving the cameras, we're gonna break for lunch." That's all I needed to hear. I ran over there, put my BMX helmet on, I had Bermuda shorts on, I think I had my jersey on, and I just started that cop motorcycle off and I took off and I got a tour of Calgary. I just rode all over town, honking the horn, blowing the siren, having a blast. And I got to see town. Anyway, apparently when I got back, they were looking for that motorcycle and they were looking for me. And man, well, in my family, we call it an ass chewing. I got an ass
wow.
chewing. Not the first one and not the last one. But I got an ass chewing that day. And but it was, let me tell you, it was worth it. It was one of the highlights of doing the movie. The other highlight I'd have to say is I think it was either Kevin Hall or Scott Clark. Again, we're sitting around doing nothing, so I took it upon myself to take out his bottom bracket and his cranks and take his rear wheel off and switch everything to the opposite side. So when he got on, it was just a freewheel when he pedaled forward. And I thought that was hilarious. But then they had to stop everything, and he had to go and fix his bike. But I was just entertaining myself.
You
had
did
to
the
keep
Scott
busy
Clark.
somehow.
Oh yeah, and I got
Yeah.
yelled at for that too. So now you guys understand. By the time we got to the cliffhanger, he was like, "What is it, Hollywood?"
Yeah. Oh, he'd had
I tell you
enough.
what we're gonna do. Hey, Rick, we're gonna go ahead and do this quick 10 real fast because I want to cover these, and I think it's gonna
Yeah.
lead to some great stories. Mike,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read out 10 questions, okay?
You
And
bet.
I want you to give me the first thing that pops in your head, okay? So
Careful.
from the movie Rad. Here we go. All right. Your favorite racer on set.
Hollywood Mike Miranda.
You can't say yourself.
You didn't tell me any rules now.
Okay. You
Uh,
can't
We're
say
making them
yourself
up as we
anyways.
go.
Yeah, okay. Kevin Sheepdog Hull.
Cool. Okay. Favorite actor you met or actress?
Bill Allen.
Bill Allen. Okay. Number 3. Who would have actually won Hell Track from the cast, not including yourself?
Would have been close between Scott Clark and Richie Anderson. Both of them were established BMX pros. I would have given and Travis Chiprez. But of those three, probably Scott Clark.
Okay.
Interesting.
Who started, and this, again, you can't choose yourself. Who started or caused the most trouble at RAD? Other than you.
There isn't even a close second place, man. Are you kidding me? Man, Rick Moliterno.
Rick, okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
We'll get that later.
There's a good story there.
What BMX racer or freestyler would you have liked to have been there that wasn't there? Who was missing that you would like to have seen there?
Tommy Brackens. He's my twin brother. My twin brother. Exactly right.
Foxy or Tiger?
Oh, I'm a married man. I can't answer that. Come on, you're gonna get me in trouble.
You can go back 30 years. Not now, then.
Oh, then Tiger.
All right.
Just because I know everyone picks the other one.
All right.
Fair answer.
Other than your setup, who had the best bike and UD combo? Uniform and bike combo. Who had the best one set up?
Eddie Fiola.
Eddie Field. Okay.
With the GT, with the Mohawk on the helmet.
Yeah.
He stood out. He stood out.
That was cool. All right. You can only bring one person. Who would you bring back for RAD 2?
Eddie Fiola.
Eddie Fiola. All right.
Yeah, arguably the most talented showman on the entire show.
All right. Now, you were Team Hutch in RAD 1. What team would you represent in RAD 2?
Woo!
Zing.
Man, that's a good question. Wow. Would it have to be a team from the 80s?
Yes.
Oh, man. GT, because they pay the best.
GT, because they pay. Okay. All right. All right. And the last question, I think I know the answer, but this will be interesting. Who would you say was the most popular rider on set out of all of y'all?
Again, excluding myself.
Yeah.
Most popular. Oh, man. That is a tough one. There's so many nice guys on the set. Probably Kevin Hull. Again, he's just the nicest guy. So I don't know. He's certainly the nicest guy. Most popular? Yeah, I'd still say him.
All right. He's Texan, that's where it comes from.
That's right.
That's it. So, all right, let's see here. A couple things we want to talk about. Would you have shaved the mustache if they told you to?
Not just no, but hell no.
So 23-year-old Mike Miranda cannot be in the movie because he won't shave the stash. You got to go home, and you're leaving.
Right. Huh? That's right. Right. Again, unless it was a paid stunt, then if he'd have paid me, I'd have done it.
Okay. So you're everything for pay. I wrote down earlier Rex for pay. All right. Let's see.
Hey, and shaves for pay too.
Shaves for pay.
Hey,
okay.
I'll shave right now if you guys want to pay me, but no.
What would that cost us?
Oh no, I got a Christmas party I'm Santa Claus for.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
All right.
gotta respect that.
I'd
Gotta
do those
respect
Pat's
that.
Todd Slavic, man. I'll put money up for bets, dude. I'll do it. All right. I don't know if you saw the thing of him in his underwear jumping into a pool last year. Let's see here. Let's talk about the pink bike setup. Rick, you got some
Yes, sir.
questions about that?
Yeah, I've always been curious. Just a quick little backstory. I don't know, 1986, 87, somewhere around there. I'm in Bangor, Maine, where I grew up. Neighborhood full of kids. And one of the guys, the toughest guy of all of them, of course, shows up with this bright pink Hutch Trickstar. None of us had ever seen one before. Half of us had never seen the movie. And so, like, they were just kind of people that came in on the freestyle racing train, but, just in the neighborhood or whatever. So half of us knew about the bike, half of us had never seen it before, and one of the guys starts teasing the bike was pink and got the shit kicked out of him for making comments about his brand new bike. So I have long since wondered how that came to be, and how it became such an icon of bikes of that era.
Well, let me tell you the lesson your friend should have learned that I spit out many times in my career was when someone would say it takes a brave man to ride a pink bike. I used to say it takes a braver man to make a comment about it.
That's exactly what happened. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
I love it.
So it started off with a pink uniform. That was the first thing. Mr. John Gregory, the owner of JT Racing, he knew I was going over to France. I was going to Paris, France for a big event, and he said, "Hey, I've got something special I want you to wear." And I was like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Gregory," because he was a big man. And he leaned on me. He said, "It's a pink uniform," and I just shook my head. But what was I going to say? He's a great sponsor and a great man. So I showed up in France with an all pink uniform, and they went wild. They went wild. Well, I flew back to the United States, and the next race I had to go to, first from Paris, came home. Hutch heard all about it. He heard how great it was and how the people went crazy over it. And so he got this notion that he said, "Hey, I'm going to make a Hollywood series bikes, and we're going to make them pink, violet, and baby blue." And I said, "Sure, sounds great, Hutch. They love it." Well, the next week I flew to the next race, which was in Houston, Texas, Pasadena to be exact, inside of Gilley's Rodeo Arena. I show up wearing all pink. Boy, they didn't go crazy that day. I walked into the bar to ask for something to eat, and big fella, big buckle, big hat, turned to me and he saw me in my old pink uniform and he goes, "You're not from around here, are you, boy?" Man. So it caught on though. It absolutely caught on, and the pink bike sold 3-1 to the other colors.
Really?
I'm not
Wow.
surprised.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's the one
Like the times
everybody
we were
remembers.
wearing, we were all wearing pink Converse. You remember that Converse with lots of pink?
Yeah.
Pink, I mean, pink, and it was a thing at that time. I got in a couple fights for wearing pink a few times. With some
Well,
Cowboys.
I still wear it all the time. I still wear pink all the time. My kids give me pink shirts for my birthday and Christmas. I made it famous, so I still rock it all the time.
Actually, I was talking to Eddie Fiola at Frogtown about this. But there's Bill Allen, there's Eddie, Richie, all these, Martin. But you, without a doubt, if you're to name like the top couple guys in that movie that stood out, you got Allen, Eddie Fiola, and you. And
Yes,
Martin
sir.
also seems to be. You definitely out of the racers, I think, take top honors. And between the pink uniform, the stash, and the wrecking, there you go. That was your magic combo. I mean, do you notice that that's kind of the way it is?
Oh, absolutely, without question. And I'll tell you, fellas, a week does not go by in my life that somebody doesn't mention Rad to me in some way, same way, shape, or form. And sometimes it's as random as can be. Today in Home Depot.
No kidding.
Yep,
Wow.
today in Home Depot.
How does that go down? I mean, do they walk? Do they stare at you and you catch them staring, or do they walk over?
No, with the Santa Claus costume, it doesn't happen. But sometimes it'll come out like I went to Home Depot and I bought one small piece angle iron. He goes, "Well, what are you doing with that?" And I said, "Oh, I have a podcast studio. I got to hang something." And he goes, "Oh, what's your podcast about?" Vintage BMX. And then he launches into, "Oh, I loved this. I love the movie." And then without me saying anything, he says, "Yeah, and I had a pink bike because I like that Hollywood guy." And I just started cracking up at the counter. And he's at the pro desk, and I am cracking up. And I said, and I just put my credit card. I said, "Well, I'll pay for that." And I put my card down. And he looked at it, and that was it, man. Lost his mind.
I love it.
That
That's
is such
great.
a legendary story. I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Happens all the time. It sure is great. But
I think
let me tell you what my
weird
kids
shit-
do. Let me tell you what my kids do to me. They were just here for, they're just here. All four were here for Thanksgiving. This is the kind of things my kids do. They'll bring RAD, put it in the DVD player, or they'll have it on Apple, and they'll have it up, and they'll have the sound crank all the way up and paused. And when I walk in the room, "Send me an angel." They just love to get me. They love to do that to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's probably been the coolest thing that's happened to you since RAD that was connected to RAD, like meeting a fan or something? Like, what's happened that sticks out in your mind over the years that was like,
Oh, sure.
RAD?
Last weekend, just this past weekend, we were in San Antonio doing a RAD event. It was myself, Eddie, Bill Allen, and Kevin Hull, and fantastic. And people stood in line for well over an hour just to get our autograph and to get a picture with us. And there was a young man that was in line with his dad, and he was touched. He was had special needs young man. And the coolest thing I can tell you is that boy, he watched that movie over and over again. It was his dad says he watches it all the time. And when he saw us, he lost his mind. And we chatted him up. And when I asked him, how does it make you feel watching that movie all the time? He just put his arm up and he said, "I feel like I have power."
Amazing.
And man, let me tell you, when you can thrill a special needs child like that and impact somebody positive, that's the best thing. That is the best thing.
Very cool.
That's probably the response I've heard yet, Brandon. Honestly.
Yep. And that's 48 hours ago. 48 hours ago.
Yeah, you're about 4 hours from where I'm at. I there's a small part of me that want to jump in a car and go there, but it's kind of a good drive. So what's probably the coolest? I know you guys. I've been around Bill for a long time, and I know he gets gifts quite often. Okay. And I've actually been with Bill where he's been recognized like some random McDonald's, like, "Hey, it's Crew Jones." Like, people freak out. It's very, you know what? Let me take you back, Mike, back to X Games 2015. It was in Austin, Texas. And, I knew that people knew, like, if we showed up, they knew it was Bill Allen. They expected him. But when we're walking through X Games in the middle of a crowd and I hear people going, "Crew Jones," like, oh my God, people are recognizing this guy. X Games, there's BMX there, but it's X Games. There's a lot going on. I was kind of blown away by how people recognize him to this day. And then I've also met about 12 or 13 Crew Jones babies, and people's were recognized. But so the impact it's had has been amazing. But he gets lots of free stuff. It's to this day. What's the coolest gift you've ever been given because you're in RAD?
Oh, the coolest gift I've ever received because I know. It's laying back here somewhere. There's a picture right back here. I'm pointing at it.
Yep.
From an 8-year-old boy in Rome, Georgia. He hand drew me a birthday card because he watched RAD. He hand drew me a birthday card for my birthday just a couple weeks ago, and it's in every episode of my podcast. That's the coolest thing. First thing comes to my mind.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, since the popularity, I guess during COVID, I watched this thing just spiral out of control. You know what I mean? That's when it was already, I've been part of this for a while. I've been watching it grow and get more and more popular, but man, COVID really launched it. And the re-release of the DVD. When did Mike Miranda really, I guess, kind of get, now at this point, it started to really change. Like you're probably busier doing RAD stuff more than you ever have in the past, right?
Yeah, I would say so. It coincides with me starting my own podcast, the Dirty Knobs podcast. So I think the combination of both those things of COVID and people stuck looking for entertainment, something to do, watch it. So they're watching Rad and they're listening to podcasts. And if they're fans of both vintage BMX and the movie Rad, that probably just was the catalyst to this big surge in popularity.
Okay. Now I've seen you do several things connected to Rad. Like I saw you at the movie theaters on social media
Yep.
last year. I
Yeah.
seen you last weekend, of course. Did you start doing kind of Rad related things? Is that something that started recently? Or have you always been for the last 20, 30 years doing those kind of things that were
Oh,
connected directly to Rad?
just recently. I think that occasionally I would do something, but I'd been so busy with my career that I hadn't really paid that much attention to it. And it wasn't until just recently that, like I said, during COVID is where I really found myself with some time on my hands and a lot more interest and had a great time doing it. Have had a blast doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, you
wonderful.
couldn't have
Yeah.
ever guessed in a million years that it would be this popular in 2024. You know, something from back in 1986, right?
Right? Gosh, dang.
I mean,
I
you
know.
want to talk about, longevity. It's amazing how much Rad has impacted the entire BMX industry. Like,
Oh, yeah.
going from Rad and then the launch of the X Games and seeing the Rad resurgence as a result of that. What was all that like to experience?
Well, so I've always worked in the bicycle industry, and when all that was going on, I just thought it was great. I think it's great for the sport of BMX. More importantly, I think it's awesome that it keeps young people riding on bicycles.
Mm.
Because I wouldn't be sitting. Obviously, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you guys. I doubt I'd have the station in life that I do if it wasn't for that dumb BMX bike, and I still love it every day. I'm also a track operator, so I operate a BMX track here in Arizona, and my mission hasn't changed, man. I just still try to get kids riding bikes every day and build it in my community.
Very cool.
Yeah,
And
man.
you're
A
very well
worthy
loved in
cause.
Bentonville, Arkansas, by the way. Did you know that?
I beg your pardon?
You're very well loved in Bentonville, Arkansas. We went and did a rad thing there a few years ago, back 2020 to be exact, and they were just raving about you. Yeah, he's here all the time, man. He's always around. I guess whatever you were doing, I guess connected you to those guys somehow.
That's right. Working in the bike industry, and you guys can probably already tell already. I like to have a good time, and I like everyone around me to have a good time. So it's just I just feel like it's my place in life to make the world around me better as best I can, and I'm still trying to do it. I'm still trying to be Hollywood.
Okay, let me ask you a couple things from the movie. What do you have from the movie? You have the bike? Do you have any collectible stuff? Do you have your uniform? What do you have from Rad?
Yeah, the bike, the jersey, helmet. Let's see what else. I have a script. Um, I got a collection of photos thanks to Sheepdog,
Yeah,
and I've got some autographs, and I got a signed book from Bill Allen.
a side book. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the bike though. Let's go back to that. You have that hutch?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't ever see it. Do you put it on display? Where's it
Nope.
at?
It's on the other side of that wall right there.
Really?
Mm.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. What's the magic number? I know you've been offered some money for it, haven't you?
There's some no, because I don't tell anyone I have it. So
No
you're
one
gonna have
knows
to
you
cut
have
this. You're gonna have to cut this part out.
I mean, why do you keep it hidden?
I don't keep it hidden. I just don't haven't done anything with it.
Mike, you look in great shape. Go grab it and pull it in front of the camera real fast.
Ain't no chance. Ain't no
He's
chance.
extorting you.
I want to see this thing. I never would have guessed you had it. I mean, no one's ever taught. Now it's going to get out though. You're in trouble. Woody
Wow.
Itz's been offered a lot of money for some of his bikes, and he's turned it down. And I'm pretty sure that bike probably is priceless and doesn't have a price tag on it either, or
They
does it?
never price tag on it either. And I know Eddie told me that he had sold his bike, and got a pretty penny for it. And I know that there's some collectibles out there that are worth a lot, but there's some stuff you just can't sell.
Yeah, you've got to bring that to Dirty Fest now. Let's talk about Dirty Fest.
Holy cow! You think I got time to deal with my bike at Dirty Fest? Man, imagine a vintage BMX event with freestyle, flatland freestyle, bike show, vintage racing, an 80s party with a pit bike derby that runs right in the middle of it. Foot down. A 3-day vintage BMX event with 3,000 people. You think I got time to mess around with my bike? Heck no. I'm too busy picking up trash, starting the races. I love it. Again, all I care about is people having a good time.
But we both know a gentleman by the name of Robert Lane that would be happy to display it for you and keep an eye on it. I know he would.
Man, do I love Rob Lane. God dang. Greatest guy. And you know what? Like I said, I love BMX, and so does he, and he is keeping history alive by his what he has on display. It's mind-blowing the stuff that he has. I tell everyone watching this podcast, if you ever have the opportunity and you see that Rob Lane has his stuff at an event, drive the 4 hours. It'll be worth it. Just that alone. It'll be worth it.
No, it's a museum.
Wow.
I mean, I think he really started pushing that about 3.5, 4 years ago. And
Yeah.
he's built it up. It's insane.
I mean, he must have spent a lifetime collecting some of that stuff. Some of the stuff he has the bikes from the Red Line Riders from back in the day. He has, their helmets, their uniforms. He's got, I don't know how he came up with all this stuff. It's amazing.
I'm telling you right now, most of that stuff he's collected over the last 3.5 years. He's been on a mission.
Unbelievable.
Rick,
well, not only that, he is a dear man. He is just he just loves kids, and he's so generous. He's just amazing. Well, anyway, he'll be at Dirty Fest June 6th, 7th, and 8th in Temecula, California. You go to www.dirtyfest.com.
Yeah,
sounds like a hell of a time.
And let's give some credit to your partners on that. Okay, tell us who your co.
Yeah, so I started this podcast as it was a dream of mine about 5 years ago, and kicked it off. We're at the tail end of our 3rd season, and it's done with my best man James JV Vicente and my little brother EC Eric Carter. Our theme is we just tell the stories, and we bring on guests, and we tell the stories that we just told in the pits. It's about the stuff you'd never read in a magazine. It's about the backstories, and the fun times, and the rental cars.
Oh yeah, I've actually listened to the Dirty Pods. Dirty Knobs quite a bit, and I've always heard the story about the rental cars. Anyway, though, Greg Romero used to tell me some pretty classic stuff back in the day when he was on GT, and some other guys. But tell me right now, like as far as you and Eric Carter, y'all were on Hutch. Is that how y'all became friends? Because y'all were on Hutch together, or?
Yes. Well, when he's quite a bit younger, and when I would watch him race, and I was just always impressed by his ability, and I always loved it when he would hit the gate, and everyone would take off, and then he'd have to catch up and pass everybody because he always did, and I was always watching how great a rider he was. But not only that, from a great family, with wonderful supportive parents that were awesome, and so when I was on Hutch. Hutch said we were going to make a few changes, and I said, "Hey, Hutch, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a say in that." And I said, most of the bike sales are coming from the West Coast, and I'm the only West Coast rider. So why don't we add a couple more West Coast guys? And so the first person I chose was Eric Carter.
Wow.
And since then, he's been my little brother.
Very cool.
Yep.
Now,
That's great.
A little backstory to that story is I had Steve Veltman in town about a month and a half ago for Spoke Folk. And he was our guest of honor. He was obviously in Hutch. And he was telling me, he's like, I looked up one day and all of a sudden Eric Carter's on the team. And we're the same age and we race each other. He's like, that's kind of a hint. But he told me, he goes, I was burnt out. I was kind of done it all, been there and done that. He goes, I looked up and Eric Carter's on the team. That kind of told me, uh-oh. So I think there's a tie into all that story.
Yeah, well, it's we all, we have ebb and flow in our career, and Steve Veltman came back to have an awesome pro career, but
Yeah,
that was probably at a time when, when a lot of young men get distracted by men and women get distracted by other things in life, and it's hard to stay that dedicated. And so he had a little lull in his career, but he sure came back strong, and man, that guy was awesome.
do you know what
Awesome.
he did? Do you know what he did when he took a little break there? Do you know what he did?
No, what did he do?
He started skateboarding in Dallas with some big dogs. Steve,
Wow.
I don't think anyone knows that. Steve Veltman became a skater.
I
And
never heard that and would have never believed that.
he
Wow.
so he's from Texas, and he moved to
Yep.
Dallas when he was around 16, 17. And there's all these myths, and I didn't know Steve Veltman, okay? I knew him as a rad cap guy and all that, and all my friends knew him real well. They kept racing when I was out of it. And two things, he was a rad cap guy. The other thing was that he kicked Vanilla Ice's ass, the rapper Vanilla Ice.
Is it
I
really?
didn't know that either. I didn't
Well,
know that either.
that's a myth. I go, one of the
Oh.
stories I've always heard is how I live right by a place called Forest Lane to this day. It's a cruising strip. I did one story I've always heard about you, Steve. I want to ask you about you whipping up on Vanilla Ice. He goes, man, that ain't how it went down. But by the time it got to me, it was like up here, and it's still talked about, but it's not true. Not true. He
Man.
probably could have whipped his ass, but that's not true. But
I don't doubt it. Steve was big for his age and tough as nails. Tough as nails.
Yeah, really good dude. But yeah, we talked about the EC thing today. He was cool about it. He was just like, yeah, I just started skateboarding, which is really funny. Anyway, let's talk about let's talk about. Let's see, you got the Mike Miranda. You got the track. What's your track called again?
Wheelhouse BMX in Prescott Valley, Arizona.
When did that start? When did you take over as a track operator?
A year ago, just a year. Brand new track. We're building it from the very beginning with all the little kids in our community. It's been great. It's been great to bring BMX back to Prescott.
What is your current role in the industry? Because you are in the bike industry. What do you do?
Yes, sir. I'm a territory manager for Marin Bikes, and I cover the Southwest.
Okay. All right. So you've never left the bike industry. And when did you get started on the I guess the corporate side, the sales side? When did that happen?
About 4 months after I broke my back.
Okay.
Ooh.
That was
Sorry
in
to
a
hear
race.
that.
Yeah, that was 88, 89. And I went to work for Vision Streetwear and then went on to work for GT Bicycles.
All right. Now, going back in time here, you rode for, let's see, Torker. I guess the T-shirts on the back of the wall tell it all, don't they?
Yeah, I rode for factory rides. My first ride was CW. Then I rode for Torker, and then I rode for Hutch for a long time, and then I finished my career with Free Agent.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that jersey back there, and I never knew you rode for Free Agent. I see the jersey.
I was working for Vision Streetwear at the time, and they sponsored the team. And Miss Yvonne said, "Hey, you're out at the races anyway. You might as well race and sit with the kids and tell stories." And so I did. I raced for a year for Free Agent.
As a pro, or did you?
Yeah, yep, pro.
Okay.
No, I reclassified about a year ago.
Oh, at your track.
That's because that's when I started racing again. Yeah.
Oh, you're racing now?
Oh yeah. Sometimes they need somebody to make a class, and I'll jump on in there.
Cruiser, or 20-inch, or both?
Cruiser.
And have you raced any big races yet?
No.
Not Frogtown, not your own race or nothing. I know you can't race your own race. I saw you. You're busy.
Yeah.
I raced Frogtown.
I rode one lap at Frogtown with my Evel Knievel uniform right here.
Saw it.
Oh, yep, with smoke bombs coming off the back of it. Yep. That's it. No, I've not raced any big races. No desire to race a big race. I love racing at the local level, and I love going to the other local tracks and racing. But when I go to local tracks, it's really to learn how they do it. I sit with a track operator. I ask questions and just try to learn what I can do to make my own operation better.
Okay. And where do you see the future of Dirty Fest? Like, I mean, I went to it last year, and I understand it was much bigger than the year before, and I was really impressed. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was about double from the year before. We went from about 1,000 people to over 2,000, and we're expecting over 3,000 this year. So where do I see it going? Well, it's going to continue to grow because we're going to keep adding to it. If it's going to be this year, we've added a lot more food vendors, a food court. We're attempting to do split screen live stream. We're adding live music. We just keep building and adding to it to the experience of anyone that comes. That's all we want. And let me just cut to the chase. It's my party and everyone's invited. That's all it is.
Awesome.
And let's talk about something that you mentioned you were going to do at Frogtown, but I didn't see it happen. And if it did happen, I'm shocked because it's hot as hell. You told me you were doing a petting zoo at Frogtown. Did y'all put the suits on?
Hell, it was 109 degrees. We would have died. Yeah.
Oh, I know. You said you were doing it.
Oh yeah.
And I never saw it waiting for it. I watched for it.
Oh man, and we brought all the listen. We brought fencing. We brought I think it was like 12 different animal costumes. But 109, man, it was no way we could do it.
Bad idea.
I was there with Greg Romero working, and I was like, dude, I was waiting for that to happen. By the way, I used to be Chester Pete. I used to wear an outfit around and dance around like Tom Thumbs and stuff. I was a mascot for Frito-Lay. It's hot as hell. And like these guys, I literally said, like, these guys are going to pass out in minutes, dude. There's no way.
I damn near passed out with no clothes on.
Yeah.
I had we were there to record spots for our own podcast, and right before we started the first one, my laptop melted. It actually melted inside. It was 109 and it was melted inside. So I ended up having to replace my laptop.
Now, what's the reasoning for changing the month you're doing your Dirty Fest in? Was there a reason for that? Because it's so windy?
Yeah, well, you were there. We held it in April the first year, and we had great weather the whole time. The second year, it comes Saturday night party time, and we have everything set up. We've got the Haro pit bikes ready to have races on the custom track and everything, and it just started raining. So I said, we will never do that again because the biggest highlight of the event is the Saturday night party.
Wow.
So we changed it. We picked June first weekend in June, because I looked at the weather and I did a 12-year analysis, and the average high was 80. And I said, we can get away with 80, and in the 12 years, zero chance of rain. So I said, that's perfect. We'll just go to we'll go to June. We'll go to June. And kids will be out of school, and people can start their vacations, and yeah, we think it's a good time. We'll see, but we believe it'll be perfect.
Yeah, June in Texas, that's around June the 10th or so. That's when it starts hitting like the upper 90s, and that's when it's just hell. They did that Texas Classic, I think they called it, and I think it was in June or July. And I didn't go because, like, you know what? It's my weekend off. I'm not going to go out there and burn up in the damn heat, dude. I'll be so miserable. I didn't go to it for that reason. The one they had, they had a race in San Antonio, like a vintage race, and it was just like, it's just too hot.
It's just too hot. Just too hot.
Now you're really going to be coming to Spoke Folk this year in October.
You're damn straight I am. October 11th. You know where you'll find me.
Oh, look, he's got the damn date down.
There's no arguing. Man has a plan.
Let me tell you what I'd like to do, Mike, before we get off here. I would love Woody Itson lives nearby. Okay. And this year I called Woody because this year was last minute. I put that together with no time. Okay. And I said, and Woody couldn't make it. I said, Woody, I'm giving you a year's notice, buddy. There's 12 months. I said, Mike Miranda says he's coming. Are you coming? Well, let me check. I'll try to make it. I said, okay, hold on. Then I started thinking, like, wow, if Steve Upman was to come back again, you're there, Woody's there, we got a Hutch Fest going on. We got a Hutch Fest.
Woody and I were teammates long before Hutch.
What team?
Woody and I were teammates on BS bikes on a bike shop team. Brian Scurra's bike shop. When Woody was one of the fastest racers in Orange County. Man, he was fast. And people don't know Woody Itson is a hell of a rider, a hell of a racer. And you know he can jump because you saw him in pictures in the magazine jumping. but a hell of a racer.
Did not know that.
I had
Yeah.
no
Oh,
idea.
that's amazing.
Wow.
So you and Rudy were on the same team for the Skura guy, Brian Skura,
Yep.
and he had a bike shop. Is that the story you're saying?
Yeah. Brian had a bike shop called BS Bikes.
No kidding. I know.
Yep.
I didn't realize that Woody rode for Diamondback. And the other day I saw some footage of him and what was the other guy? Dominguez or
Yeah, Mike Dominguez.
Mike Dominguez, yeah.
Yeah, and Woody also rode for CW.
I didn't know that one
I
either.
didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, but then you are teammates
awesome.
twice then.
Well, I tell you what, you guys need to listen to the Dirty Knobs podcast a little bit more often. Go back and check them out. Yeah, Woody's been a guest.
I heard part of Woody's, but I turn on it at work and I get up and walk away and I come back and stuff, and I caught part of the Woody stuff, but I didn't. Like I said, I didn't know you was that big of a racer. That's for sure.
Yeah, listen, the Dirty Knobs podcast isn't just about racers. I mean, we've had Bill Allen on there. We've had Eddie Fiola on there now. Woody Itson. You know, we kind of mix it up a little bit between all of it because we find out that that's the one common denominator amongst, like, the three of us. Hey, we're all part of the BMX family. If you throw a leg over a BMX bike, I don't care if you race or jump curbs or whatever, you're part of the BMX family. You're never alone. You're never alone.
That's so amazing.
Yep. You're my brother and my sister. Just like you two, you're my brothers.
Awesome.
So I don't know if you saw it, Mike, but I did take your guy. You saw where I put you with our spoke boat guys.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. Yep. So just so you know, Rick, they all have names. It's Old Spokey in the middle, and then you have Tony Tabletop. You got Chris Endo, and then Bob Harrow did all these. Bob sent me the mics, and so we have Hollywood Mike hanging out with these guys, and I've got some little cartoons coming up of it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, dude.
I also saw the one that said asked me if I was coming, and then you had my cartoon of me going, "Yeah, I'll be there."
Yeah, you put hell yeah or something like that.
Yep, hell yeah. Well, it's now you know it's hell yeah.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to be there. We're excited. Oh, by the way, Robert said
definitely going to be there.
Rob Lane said to let you know that he's picking you up. You got a place to stay. He's going to show you some Texas hospitality. You're golden.
Man, nothing better. Can't wait to see you guys in person.
Yeah. Well, man, Rick, anything else we asked Hollywood?
Yeah, I just, we talked about a few minutes ago. We talked a few times about Dirty Knobs, and I will say I listened to the Eddie episode just recently, as a matter of fact. Most recent, right? Was that within the last month or so? I think.
Yeah. Maybe? Well, yeah. It was. Let's see if that was out. It was 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Our attempt is always to do every other week, every other Sunday we drop an episode. Yeah. But unfortunately, we lost our number one fan. Eric Carter's mom passed away, so we were unable to record, unfortunately. And like I said, she's been our number one fan since we started. And what I mean by number one fan is when it comes out on Sunday, 2 hours and 2 minutes later, she calls me and tears into me about, why do you let Eric chew on screen? And why don't you tell him to get a haircut? And how come he does this? I mean, I was like, he's a grown ass man. Why are you calling and yelling at me? God, yeah, I love her. We'll miss her so much. Oh man.
Oh yeah, that's. I'm sorry to hear that. I just wanted to say that listening to Eddie's episode and hearing you guys rap back and forth, for me, being a RAD fan, it's always about the nostalgia, right? It brings back so many good memories, and to hear you guys getting together and rapping about this story and that story, and just to hear the emotion in your voice is really, we can all relate to that. So for us older guys, seeing you guys interact the way you do and telling us those stories, it's like Christmas, right? So I absolutely love that. I love it.
Well, our goal is for you to feel like you just rolled into the garage with us as we're all working on our bikes.
That's absolutely the aesthetic, man. You guys nailed it.
Yeah.
Good
work.
Well,
good to hear. Thank you for that feedback. And you know what? That makes you an official Dirty Knob.
Hey, Mike, I got a
follower
real serious question real fast.
Uh-oh.
From being in
Command-
RAD, this is a bike racing question. Once you were done with RAD and it was at the movie theaters, how much flack did you take from riders about the track and the movie itself? How much did you hear like from your fellow rider racers?
None. I never
None?
took it. I never heard any. And uh, I think because of my personality, I didn't get any guff from anybody. Except for one guy. I did. One guy kind of gave me a hard time about it, but in the end, I'm sure it was because of envy, because I had a great time and it had a positive impact on me. But more importantly, it had a positive impact on so many people. And like this conversation right here. Yep. Hey, me too.
Me too.
Me
Yeah.
too. Love
Yeah,
it.
it's amazing how many people, and I didn't know this. I was a racer, like, why are these top pros having trouble getting up those jumps? And this, seeing hill track in 2018 in person, I realized, oh my God, they're going up a hill and they're bunny hopping over a little missing gap there on the cliffhanger going up to it. And then you understood, like, that's why these guys are having trouble, because this is a messed up track. But also with Bill Allen, I was like, holy crap, probably over the years, 1,000 or more. I got into BMX because of RAD. I heard that over
Yeah.
and over and over. There's probably been nothing more out, and probably nothing else out there that had such an influence on the public and get them onto bicycles for BMX.
Absolutely. When I worked at Woodward Camp, we'd have the campers come in, the kids that came in, and they would go, "Oh, RAD, yeah. If I get in trouble, my mom puts me on RAD restriction and won't let me watch it." So it's hilarious. It is hilarious.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to promote or push, or how do we find you?
Yeah, I would say that you can find me at Dirty Knobs Podcast. That's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And I would tell you that make sure you go to www.dirtyfest.com to find out the info on the event and buy merch. But more importantly, make sure you mark off your calendar June 6th, 7th, and 8th for the greatest vintage event of your lifetime. And finally, the most important thing I can tell you is, hey fellas, we all go through little ups and downs in life, and if you're ever in a down, remember you're part of a BMX family and we love you. And you can always call on old Hollywood to cheer you up.
Cool,
You might be getting a call from me soon.
All right. There he is.
We appreciate you, Mike.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. That was him right there, Hollywood Mike Miranda. Man, what do you think, Rick? We've been trying to get him on for a long time.
I can't believe that just happened. I'll be honest. I'm sad to see him go. I didn't want that conversation to end. Some of these episodes just go on forever and we don't realize, how long we've been talking. And I could have easily gone to midnight without realizing what time it was. I just found so much value in his insight because of his personality. Like, he brought the personality to the culture of the film. There's no question.
Yeah.
Mostly his mustache. But.
He is the most, he really should be a BMX Santa Claus because he's the most joyful, outgoing. He's a trip, dude. I would like to hang out with him at a party, man. Listen, so my BMX team, by the way, Sunbury was created, the name Sunbury was created watching RAD. I think I've said that before. That's a true story. But my whole BMX team was about having fun, dude. We were the team that was pulling up in limousines because they're like old style limousines, like, because the 80s look. And, we would wear costumes and just, it was all about having fun. Mike Miranda seems like the life of the party. I'm sure he is a life of the party for sure. And he just exudes joyfulness,
Yeah, and it's funny. We talked earlier about him being, playing himself, but becoming the character of the fall guy in the movie.
Yeah.
When we had our, when I was a kid, we watched RAD and we went out to the woods and we built our own track. And whenever anybody would wipe out like catastrophically, we always say, "Oh, he just got Miranda'd." And that was like that was our catchphrase,
Yeah.
And I just can't believe if I don't have any idea where those guys are today, but I can guarantee you that none of them would believe I just talked to Mike Miranda.
What's amazing about Mike is he's now a track operator.
Yeah.
He's in the industry. Apparently has a wife. So he's got kids. So he's got a family. How does he have time for all this? Because he does this podcast. I know it takes place on events. It's a 3-day event. It's a big one too, man.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of moving parts there. So, and he just seems really excited about it. So that's really cool. He's giving back.
Well,
you know?
that's what it is. You take a personality that big and combine it with a sheer passion for something, and it's going to shine. It's going to overshadow everything you do. I mean, that's who he is, right? I think that's incredibly powerful, and he does it out of the love for it. Getting people back on bikes.
You can tell he's passionate about it. He's into it. He's just joyful. Yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but he had a RAD tattoo on his.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he wasn't just in the movie; he really appreciated being part of that. As part of culture. So that's really cool, man. It's nice to see a guy that had an impact on the sport, and he's just so approachable and nice as can be. That's cool. Anyway, and they got a great podcast, man. So listen, man. I guess we'll wrap it up, man. What's next?
Yeah. We got to keep plugging. We got some more guests we got to get on this show.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the next step is, but we'll get there. I know it. Especially with the rising popularity of Dirty Fest and Dirty Knobs and Spoke Folk as well. I mean, these events are going to be popping up more and more. I hope anyway, but I'm pretty sure they will. And
it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's growing.
I can't imagine Mike, even 5 years ago, would have thought he'd be getting a phone call to fly into Texas and be part of a RAD watch party or whatever they did last weekend.
Yeah.
So
this is a great time to be part of the RAD family. I can say that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, man. Well, till next time. Yeah.
Let's walk the sucker.
Digital.